So, you want to create something, right? Or maybe you are already a creative person and just want to hear other people talk about their creative process and insight. In any case, today I want to talk about the joy of creation, my take on what it is and why I want to create stuff. And I'm gonna start at the thing that sparked it all for me. Roughly 4 years ago, I decided that I want to try to make a game alone. And it went exactly how it sounds. I never made it past prototype stage, but I have learned quite a lot during that time. Mainly that coding is actually quite fun and not as complicated as it appears. And that making all of the assets for your game by yourself is not as fast as I imagined it to be, even if they are in this low poly, seemingly easy to make style. I actually still have that prototype built of the game. I wanted it to be a linear level based game with its main mechanic being the Sekiro styled combat with its stance system and parries, killing blows and different abilities. But of course I couldn't figure it all out by myself alone, so I improvised. For example, I didn't know how to trigger separate animations for separate bone groups, so I didn't see a way to make attacking and blocking while moving possible, so I just made it that you can't move while doing those things. Very creative, I know. I also couldn't figure how to make death bow animations, so I opted for a different way to finish enemies, which is this long charge attack that also heals you to full HP if you kill an enemy. Speaking about the enemies, I thought that for a Sekiro styled game it would be crucial to have clean and clear attack animations, so I spent some extra time trying to make them as smooth and telegraphed as I could. And it came out okay, nothing special, but I think they are decent, especially for someone who have never animated anything before. I also spent way too much time on details that were absolutely unnecessary at this stage of the game, like the little embers coming off the torches or messing around with the particle emitter settings for the fire to look good, or the sparks coming off the swords when you parry. All in all, it took me 1 month to make what you see on your screen right now. And it's not like 1 month or a few hours a day type of deal. It was 16-hour shifts type of deal, because I was unemployed at the time, so I dedicated my full attention to this project. And seeing of course how much time it would take to finish it, I just burned out and decided to move on to something else. But I asked myself, what was the most enjoyable thing about making this game? And immediately I knew that it was modeling and animating, which is not a surprise given how much time I spent trying to make the game look better instead of figuring out how could I code something crucial in. Anyway, I decided that I would like to level up my modeling skills now. That meant I need to step up my game and learn Blender. Before that, I was using Workbench, which you probably know about, especially now that the Hightail released, a game that uses Workbench for its models, textures, and animations. Long story short, I didn't really like Blender, mainly because it is ultra overloaded for my purposes. It can do so much and there are so much buttons and tools it takes a lifetime to learn, and there's nothing wrong with it. It is just that I'm not aiming to become a professional 3D artist. I just want to create some stuff as a hobby. Still, I've made a few models in Blender. I've made a hard surface model and a really cool sculpt model of some sci-fi Arctic soldier which I later imported into Tabletop Simulator, but it was lost to time unfortunately, so I no longer have it. And I don't have any source files left from that era. And I didn't do render pictures back then, so there is nothing for me to show you from my Blender projects. Instead, I can skip the timeline forward a bit and show another sci-fi Arctic, this time a robot soldier and not just a soldier, that I made not so long ago. This was modeled in plasticity, textured in Substance Painter and rendered in Blender, and it was based off my older Workbench model. This took quite a lot of time to make, mainly because I was new to plasticity and substance painter and I had to learn a lot of stuff. I'm not, however, very satisfied with how it turned out, mainly due to textures. I initially wanted to make them hand-drawn, but this proved to be quite a challenge because my RX 580 was basically dying and everything was very laggy if I tried to paint 4K and even 2K textures by hand. So I opted for substance built-in materials, as well as some that I downloaded on the web, like this camo material. Still, it was quite a laggy and not at all smooth experience to make it happen. I still like the model itself, although I can see how it lacks details at this level of fidelity. But it was really fun to make. Plasticity is an incredible software. It is made for one specific purpose, which is hard surface modeling, and it does it incredibly well while being rather easy to pick up. There are some downsides to using it though. You see, plasticity is not a polygon modeling software like Blender, for example. It is a CAD modeling software, which means that it uses mathematical formulas to determine the shape and not polygons. It's definitely much more complicated than that, but I'm not gonna pretend that I understand it. The point is that if you want to use your CAD models in software like Blender or a game engine, you have to convert a polygon model in the point is that if you want to use your CAD model in software like Blender or a game engine, you have to convert it to a polygon model, and the problem is that the conversion will produce a sort of messy topology, which is not that terrible if you are going for a render, but is unacceptable if you are going to put it into a game engine. So your options are either to clean up the existing topology, which can yield some results, although it would still be far from truly optimized, or you can retopologize the entire model, which is longer, but it is also much better in terms of optimization. Anyway, jumping back to the original timeline. So, after I've tried Blender and didn't like the experience very much, I moved back to Workbench making a model or two from time to time. I also wanted to explore other mediums for creating stuff, music to be exact. So I started goofing around in FL Studio, and it is here that I can finally start tackling the topic of this video. See, before I have ever created anything myself, I thought that it goes something like this. You have an idea or an image in your mind. You pick the right tools for the job and start bringing that idea into life. And how much skill and experience you have is what determines how closely will the thing you are about to create match the idea that you had in your imagination. And this model worked for me up until that point. I had an image of what I wanted to create. I used Blockbench and its tools to match that idea as closely as I can, which was kinda far from what I imagined, but that's understandable as I didn't have much experience, so my models looked not as I have intended. But when I tried creating music, this model stopped working for me because I can't really imagine music. Rather, I can, but it's very muddy, sort of. So I basically have no clear idea of what I want to create, which made me rethink how to approach the creative process. I thought to myself, alright, if I can't really imagine what I want exactly, how about I take the tools of a specific genre, like samples and instruments, and start experimenting with them until maybe an idea pops up in my head. And it worked. I goofed around until something formed in my head, some concept of what I want to create, and I just expanded upon it and made a short track. It was not good, but I also didn't bleed from my ears listening to it, so I called it a victory. I still have that track because I've shared it with my friend using Telegram, so it was there in our chat history when I came looking for it for this video. So here's 1 of 2 minutes of it uninterrupted for those of you who are curious, or you can skip to this timecode. Okay, now back to business. So what is the joy of creation? What is it that compels us to create? And for me, the answer is exploration, curiosity. What is there waiting to be made? What is possible to do with these tools or those tools? What if I follow this random idea popping out of nowhere in my head? Where will it lead me? What will I learn by the end of it? What will I end up creating? And I know I'm not saying anything new here, but I just wanted to explain it through my own lens. Now I use this exploration principle in everything I make. Now I allow not knowing what I'm making. I just start doing something until the idea discovers itself through the process. And honestly, this mindset helps me a lot. Here's the Mac I've made last year. For no, here's a Mac. Here's a Mac I made last year, for example, and to be honest with you, I really like it. I don't know why. I think it has some sort of style to it, and maybe that's because I didn't put expectations upon it. I just followed what I thought was looking nice and built that up over time. Maybe I'm just delusional, so let me know in the comments, do you like this Mac or not? Anyway, that's probably all I wanted to talk about in this video. Thanks for listening. And to close it off, here are a couple of shots of the Minecraft build I've been making in the background of this video. Bye bye!